Hello there, Year 3, and welcome to our new text. As I mentioned in the previous video, this is going to be a non-fiction text. This is called The Water Cycle. So, as usual, I'm going to read through the text, and then we're going to go through the answers and see how we can achieve full marks for each one. So here we go. The water cycle. When you hear about the water cycle, do you imagine some kind of bike that travels on water? This would make sense, but the water cycle actually describes how water moves through the Earth's surface, atmosphere, and below ground. This is a process that continues in an everlasting circle, which is where the word cycle comes in. Let's find out more. Solid, liquid, and gas. You might be used to water being in runny liquid that you use for drinking, washing, and playing in, but it can also exist as a solid, ice, and a gas, steam or water vapour. The water cycle describes water's journey from liquid to vapour to liquid again, sometimes becoming a solid in between. Evaporation. The water cycle is powered by heat of the sun. It warms up water in places like oceans and lakes, which makes it turn from a liquid into a gas and rise up into the sky. This process is called evaporation. The water vapour collects in the sky to create clouds. Condensation. In a process named condensation, water vapour in the clouds cools until it becomes water once more. Precipitation. This liquid water then falls from the sky. It could take the form of rain or snow, but also as sleet or hail. Sleet is when liquid water freezes before it hits the ground, and hail is small lumps of ice and snow that can drop from the clouds during a thunderstorm. This step of the cycle is precipitation. Collection. The fourth stage of the water cycle is collection. During this process, fallen water collects in oceans and lakes before it evaporates into the sky to continue the cycle. And as we can see the cycle, it goes condensation, precipitation, collection, evaporation. And the last bit, wonderful water. Water is essential for all life on Earth because water is recycled and does not leave the Earth. It has been around for millions of years, meaning that you might be drinking water that a dinosaur once drank. You may not know that 3/4 of your body is actually made up of water. Okay, so now we're going to go through the text and figure out how to achieve full marks for each answer. So, vocabulary. Question 1. This is a process that continues in an everlasting circle. Which word below means the same as everlasting? This is a process that continues in an everlasting circle. Which word below means the same as everlasting? So we've got yearly, never-ending, temporary, or sometimes. The only one this can be is never-ending. Never-ending is the one that means the same thing as everlasting, means something that lasts forever. Question 2. Look at the section titled Evaporation. Find and copy a word that means the same as make. Look at the section titled Evaporation. Find and copy a word that means the same as make. So again, I need to look at that section Evaporation. There it is. And right at the bottom there, it says water vapour collects in the sky to create clouds. So find and copy the word that means the same as make. It is create. Create is the word I need to write down there. Right, question 3. Look at the 5th paragraph. What does the word precipitation mean? Look at the 5th paragraph. What does the word precipitation mean? So I'm going to find that section called precipitation. That's going to help me. There it is, precipitation. What does that word mean? It says there right at the top, doesn't it? Okay, precipitation. This liquid water then falls from the sky. It could take the form of rain or snow, but also as sleet or hail. Okay, so the answer to that one is right there in the text, isn't it? Okay, for question 3. So again, what did I write down? I wrote down when liquid water falls from the sky to the ground as rain, snow, sleet or hail. Okay, that's going to give me the answer. Right. Question 4, retrieval. Look at the 2nd paragraph, solid, liquid and gas. Write 2 things the text says you might use for water. Sorry, use water for. Write 2 things the text says you might use water for. So look at the 2nd paragraph, solid, liquid and gas. Write 2 things that you might use water for. So you might use water to being a runny liquid used for drinking, washing and playing, but also it can exist as a solid or ice. So that is going to be any 2 from, I think, drinking, washing and playing. Those are the answers, aren't they? If you write only 2 of those, drinking, washing and playing, that is going to be your answer, isn't it? Okay. Right, so question 5. What powers the water cycle? What powers the water cycle? So if you look back at that evaporation section, it says there right there at the top of that one, evaporation. The water cycle is powered by the heat of the sun. So what's the water cycle powered by? It is the sun, isn't it? Okay, or the heat of the sun if you want to be specific, but the sun is the answer to that one. Question 6. Which process follows precipitation in the water cycle? Which process follows precipitation in the water cycle? So if you look at that diagram, it says there condensation, precipitation, and then collection. So collection is the answer to that one. That's the next one in the cycle. Right, so question 7. Inference. In the first paragraph, what tells you that the Earth has underground rivers and lakes? In the first paragraph, what tells you the Earth has underground rivers and lakes? So look at that first paragraph. What tells you the Earth has underground rivers and lakes? So what does the text say? It says that, in the first paragraph, it says that water moves through the Earth's surface, atmosphere, and below ground, doesn't it? Water moves through the Earth's surface, atmosphere, and below ground, so that is the answer to that one. Okay, that's exactly what I've written down for that one. Right, question 8. Look at the statements below. Which is true? Tick 1, then explain your answer underneath. So look at the statements below. Which is true? Tick 1, then explain your answer underneath. So we've got only water that has fallen into oceans or lakes as rain evaporates, or we've got water that has fallen anywhere as rain but ends up in oceans and lakes evaporates. So the one that we need to tick is the second one. Okay, water that has fallen anywhere as rain but ends up in oceans and lakes evaporates. Any water can evaporate, okay, not just water that's in oceans and lakes. Any water can evaporate. Even, this is an example I actually used to give when I was teaching this, is if you have a water bottle and you unscrew the lid, leave that bottle out in the sun, that water will actually then start to evaporate. Little droplets of that water will start evaporating out of it. You won't be able to see it because they're microscopic, but that water level should actually, over a very long time, start decreasing. So yeah, any water can evaporate. Okay, so basically, for your answer for that one, let's see what I wrote down. How did I phrase it? I said, because water moves through the Earth's surface and underground, the power and heat of the sun causes water to evaporate. Okay, so I'm going back to that previous bit using the sun as well. So because water moves through the Earth's surface and underground, and the power of and heat of the sun causes the water to evaporate. So question 9. Look at the section condensation. Which answer describes how long water remains in clouds before precipitation? Look at the section condensation. Which answer describes how long water remains in clouds before precipitation? So it falls to Earth straight away, it always stays in the clouds for years, water rains down when it heats up, or when it has cooled enough, it falls as rain. So the answer to that one is, of course, when it has cooled enough, it falls as rain. Okay, that is the answer to that one. So if we look at that section, condensation, when it's cooled enough, it falls as rain, condensation, as it says there. Water vapour in the clouds cools until it becomes water once more. It is that one, isn't it? Okay. Right, question 10, summarising. Using the whole text, tick one box in each row to show whether each statement is true or false. So we've got water evaporates from clouds to create rain. Water evaporates from clouds to create rain. That is false. It does not evaporate from clouds, okay? It actually goes up into the clouds, so it doesn't evaporate from the clouds. That is false. Sleet first falls as liquid water, then freezes before it hits ground. Sleet first falls as liquid water, then freezes before it hits ground. So again, if we look back through the text, the bit that says about sleet, sleet is when liquid water freezes before it hits ground, and then hail is small lumps of ice, so that one is true. It's in the text right there. That is definitely true. And the last point, about 1/4 of the human body is made of water. About 1/4 of the human body is made of water. Do you remember reading that bit about the human body being made of water? It's right at the bottom there. How much of the body is made of water? It says right there, about 3/4 of your body is made up of water. So is it about 1/4? No, it's 3/4. That one is false. Okay, so it should be false, true, false for that one. And the last one, predict. What would happen to life on Earth if there was no water on Earth? What would happen to life on Earth if there was no water on Earth? Now, funnily enough, we did something like this before in term 2, I believe, when we talked about what would happen if the sun didn't exist. What would happen? So what would happen if we had no water on Earth? Okay, so here's what I've written. It's a very similar sort of answer if we had no sun. I've said all living things need water to survive. Therefore, if there was no water on Earth, all living things would die. Okay, so I've been really specific there. I haven't just written everything would die, okay, which is the main point, okay, but I've been really specific. I've given a full sentence with my answers, 2 lines there, so I've been really detailed with how I've answered it. All living things need water to survive. Therefore, if there was no water on Earth, all living things would die. So there we go. That's the end of that one. So tune in tomorrow where we're going to go through the set B set of questions for the water cycle. So I'll see you then.